I first heard about the Hollywood Fringe Festival a couple of years ago. My really good friend, Grant Patricio, he had a production that he was in that an actor actually fell through, and they needed a co-actor for him, and he hit me up. It was just odd because I actually hadn't acted in a hot minute when he asked me to be a part of it. But the production was so much fun, and it was my first time back in theater in years. I think it was like 6 or 7 years at that point. So I was like, ooh, this is gonna be a lot of fun. And when it's with a friend, that's when it's even better. So it was a fantastic time. And that's what kind of got me in the Fringe Festival circuit, which also led to other festival circuits as well.
Well, the show's about me becoming an actor at 50, which was 12 years ago. So I became an actor at 50. But around 60, 2018, something like that, I went down to the senior center because I'm 60 at the LGBT center here in Hollywood to sign up for some of their programs. And when you sign up for their center, you know, a big surprise to me, you get tickets to the opera, Disneyland, the movies, and, you know, you get tickets to all kinds of things. Well, they gave me a ticket to Fringe Fest, and it was a one-man show at their theater over there on McAteer. And so I went, it's just down the street. And I saw this guy's show, and I thought, well, that is really frightening. That's really scary. I think I'll try it. And then, you know, in the program, the director has her information, and she does a workshop, Deborah DeLiso. So I thought, well, I'm going to do her workshop. So in 2019 Fringe, I saw his show in June. And then in October, I was doing her workshop, showed up with a blank notebook. I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's try it. Totally nervous. And then by November, we had put, you know, there were a bunch of us, and we put it up in the theater. And then you get into that circle, and everyone starts doing Fringe. And okay, I guess that's what you do. You do Fringe. I didn't really know much about it other than seeing a few plays here and there. And then I was getting ready to do it and got a poster made and did all that. And then COVID hit, and then the whole thing dropped. And I had applied for the scholarship, and I didn't get it. And that was I was kind of hoping for that, but then, so that got shut down. Well, in 2021, they brought it back, and it was like hit and miss. Okay, what are we doing? Are we doing it? What are we doing? You know, it's been interesting. Applied for the scholarship, and I got it this time, the diversity scholarship. And now that I thought, well, this is a great start and a lot of terrific momentum to start with it. But this is my first theater production, I guess, where I'm the producer. And yeah, it's like, wow, I had no idea. Just there's a lot involved. Sometimes I feel like I got on a roller coaster and I'm like halfway through the ride. Like you can't really get off. You're kind of committed at that point. So so now I'm doing it, and I'm thrilled. It's very exciting. It's a lot of work, but it's very exciting. And I'm thrilled.
So I first learned about the Hollywood Fringe Festival from a colleague of mine. So I had performed my solo show, my 15-minute solo show of Margaret Garner. And one of my colleagues who has participated in the Fringe Festival said, oh my God, that was amazing. You have to enter into the Fringe show. And I'm very new to LA, so I had no idea really what that was. And so once I did research about it and found out not only what it was, but what it means to the artist, because I am still looking for that community feeling of being, having, I went to conservatory, so I do have some actor friends, but having just a larger, I guess, tribe of artists and actors. And I found out that the Hollywood Fringe is really, caters to that, just fostering a sense of community. And that really excited me. And so with this piece, I knew I wasn't done telling the story because I was limited by the 15 minutes that we were given. And so I wanted to expand upon it. So once I heard about the Fringe Festival, I was like, oh, this is my chance to really feel like I can do her story more justice and share it with a community of artists who are passionate about theater.
I mean, I've known about the Fringe in general for like my whole life. My mom's in theater, my dad was a writer. And this last year and a half, like I said, I really wanted to put this work in the Hollywood Fringe because it seemed like a really genuinely kind, caring community where I could try out a lot of stuff I'm very nervous about. There's no real like fancy reason. It's a really nice group of people. I've enjoyed meeting like everyone that I've met thus far. And I really wanted to, this is the first time I've sort of written this much stuff or like had this many sort of jokes and songs and bits that came from sitting in my bedroom and not working it out in front of people. So I really wanted, like, you know, it's a lot more intimidating, I think, to go into, especially in LA, like there's almost no theaters in here. So to just go out into the world and just start gigging a lot. I have a lot of like performance anxiety now because I haven't done it in so long. So I really wanted to find like a sort of landing pad. And this seemed like maybe the least pretentious community I sort of found in a really nice way.
Why I wanted to be a part of this year's Hollywood Fringe is because I was actually a part of last year's Hollywood Fringe, and we know what happened there, so we won't go talk about that. But I am one of those people who actually may have benefited from the situation we're in. My play would have been the third Fringe I'd have been in last year if it would have been produced at the Hollywood Fringe. And in hindsight, it would have been like I had problems with the Toronto production and then the Hamilton production, but then I was ready to stage it again in Hollywood. And what this year delay gave me an opportunity to do was to revisit my the play and actually realize I had to, just what we were talking about, I had to share. I finally got a director. I used to just workshop it. And like they say, you know, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. That could have been what happened again if last year's festival would have went off. But this year, like I said, I revisited it, and I got a professional director, a guy who really fell in love with the project as much as I did. And he's been able to mine material from the play that's taken it totally to a different level. And Fringe in general, if we can touch on that, I think it's the greatest platform that a young, or not young, emerging playwright can have. And where else can you get this kind of exposure, the opportunity to play in legitimate theaters in whichever city you happen to be in, and whichever Fringe you happen to enter. I just think it's the most fantastic. I don't know any other entertainment artistic vehicle that offers such a platform.
When did I first hear about Fringe? I guess it was probably about 10 years ago. I've, you know, when you're in various acting classes and writing classes and things like that, you meet people and they usually, a lot of people do Fringe. So, you know, I had been an audience member for a while. This year, it just ended up being, because we had originally conceived this show for to just be done on Zoom. But then when everything started opening up, it felt like a really good opportunity to put our show into the Hollywood Fringe.
Yeah, I've been aware of Fringe for a number of years. I've attended a few shows here and there in the past. I've never been too intimately involved with it before this year. But yeah, as Jonah said, we were sort of conceiving this show as an online experience, but then when Fringe this year came around and the timing seemed right and the opportunity to actually have a live performance component to the show seemed to really like make it even better than what we were planning. just really seemed like the right opportunity. And it was exciting for me because I never really felt like I was, I don't know, I just never felt like I had the type of material that would be good for Fringe, or like, you know, because I didn't write my own shows or like have really personal stories to tell, that, you know, I wouldn't be able to do anything in Fringe. And it's really nice to realize that, you know, you can, you know, if you have something you want to present, you can find a way to do it in that format and in that venue. And, you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, people will respond to it.
Yeah, I thought that this show does uniquely feel like, much like Andrew said, you know, we really hadn't done anything before. Really, I hadn't also done anything before that felt that it would bring something to Fringe. But yeah, we have a light show that I think is personal to everyone who's made it. And I think that's what Fringe is about, is bringing something very personal to people who want to see it.
I heard about the Hollywood Fringe Festival back in 2019. I wanted to do a different show, like I mentioned, and I had just moved to Los Angeles, and I wanted to be active in my community. I wanted to get to know my community, and I hadn't done theater in some time, and I just felt like, you know what, it's time. It's time to get on stage. I'm in a new city. This sounds exciting. It sounds like it's gonna be a lot of work, but it's probably gonna be worth it. And yeah, so then I started attending the Hollywood Fringe meetings in the town halls, and I started to get more and more excited about it. And I think, like, meeting all the other artists and talking to them and about their process and about their shows, like, it got me really excited and really hooked into wanting to do the Fringe. And unfortunately, last year couldn't happen. So this year I'm like, okay, we have to make this happen somehow. You know, pandemic or no pandemic, we're gonna make this happen.
You know, it's so funny because I've been living out here about 22 years, and the first time I heard of the festival was only about 3 years ago. And I've done a lot of producing out here with different companies and different spaces, and I was like, where the hell have I been? You know, like, how did I not know about this incredible, amazing event? And just going to the shows that year, I think that was in 2018, and just being like, oh my God, there's so much going on. There's so many companies, there's so many different things happening. And I have to be involved in this. And so the following year, I was like, I'm come hell or high water, I'm putting up something. And so in 2019, I did a show called Invincible Summer, and working the same way, devised theater. And just, I fell in love with it and was like, I must do something for 2020. And of course, COVID came along and, you know, ruined all our lives. And then this year, you know, the fact that they were even doing a Fringe with everything that was going on, and it was going to be in August instead of June, it was like, oh my gosh, this is a great opportunity to like really go for it this summer. And what is this live stream? And, you know, this hybrid that they're talking about. And really during the whole year, my struggle was that I couldn't really find that connecting point with people through Zoom. I just, you know, it's so hard to like rehearse. I'm that kind of person. I have to be in the room, and the process is very organic, and I have to be in the room. I have to see people's faces. I have to be there to help that process. And I just found it really difficult to do that over the internet. And when the opportunity came that, hey, we're going to do a hybrid, and we're definitely going to do live stream, and which intrigued me. But we're waiting to June 15th to see what's going to happen. Could we do live theater? And I just kind of was in that holding pattern of like feeling like, I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. And once we knew it was going to go live, then I was all in. I was like, you know, come hell or high water, I got to find a way to do something. So yeah, that was, and the Fringe, you know, ever since, it's really been like, the Fringe is such a unique event, and really is, I think, such an incredible showcase for LA theater and what's possible. LA gets such a bad rap, but there's so much good theater out here, so many talented people, so many great companies. and beautiful spaces. I mean, amazing 99-seat theater spaces in every kind of combination. So the Fringe, I think, is just the best of LA theater, just bringing it all together and, you know, trying things for the first time. This year, it's wonderful because I'm working with the Asylum, and I don't feel like I'm alone. You know, 2 years ago when I was producing, I felt very much like every mistake you could make, I made. And, you know, self-producing is hard enough. And then the Asylum, you know, and Matt Quinn, just, it's like you're with a whole team of people, and all of the years of their collective knowledge of the Fringe, you get access to. And so I feel like I'm really moving forward, getting on calendars and putting together great press releases and really getting the word. Obviously, you know, heard about me somewhere, you know, so this interview even, you know, comes out of that process of working with a team of people who know what they're doing and have been doing it for a really long time. And it's been really fun too, to meet all kinds of great people in the theater world. All you know, we're all going to go to each other's shows, and it's been really nice. So I just love this experience. One of the best things that LA has to offer.
I first heard about the Hollywood Fringe Festival just earlier this year, actually. My producer, Wendy Hui, she just graduated from USC's theater production major, and she's a very dear friend of mine. And I was getting dinner with her earlier in the spring, in around March. And she was saying that she wants to produce theater, to create something, and she knows I'm a writer, and so she asked if I'd be interested in writing a play for the Hollywood Fringe. And you know, I'm very familiar with Edinburgh Fringe, and I know about New York Fringe. I didn't know Hollywood had a Fringe festival. I've only been in Hollywood for a couple years now, and so I was super excited by that prospect. I love Fringe festivals. I love these opportunities for creators to come and produce new and exciting and weird works that you don't see really in other places. Just such new and bizarre ideas coming up. And I've always wanted to be part of a festival like that. And so it was kind of a no-brainer. I was immediately on board with it, and started coming up with possible play ideas for her, and sort of workshop different things, and came to the play that we have now. And it's been kind of a whirlwind process, but super exciting.
From 9 to 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, I think in April, I was in a workshop called The Imaginative Storm with Nave and Allegra Houston. I wrote this scene in a 10-minute write. And then from 10 to 11, I went into a workshop with Jessica Lynn Johnson and read it aloud. And she said, you should do that as a play. And that day she made an announcement, the Hollywood Fringe is coming up. And I said, okay, let me take this to the Fringe, because I felt people like Fleabag and other female storytellers really were given support by the Fringe community. So I thought, okay, great. No barriers. Fringe, here I come.
I feel similarly. I've been drawn to the Fringe as a place that's a completely uncommercialized, uncensored, nonprofit space for emerging artists to allow themselves to put themselves out there in a raw way before, you know, potential people are telling you can or can't do this, or you can or can't say that, or this or that won't sell, or, you know, when you make art, there's lots of opinions that people will give you about the art that you're making, but Fringe is a place where you can really put it out in its potentially most bold and unfiltered way, depending on where you're going with it after. So Fringe is an amazing space for emerging artists and for new voices, and to find diverse audiences and platforms who accept art of taboo themes, and where you might not be able to say things otherwise.
And something I actually felt the Fringe was going to be the opposite of me taking, if I tried to take Sugar and Shit to Hollywood pitch meetings at well-known studios, immediately they would have a problem with the word shit, even though clearly it's said in nearly every single film that every Hollywood studio is making. So I feel like the Fringe has a much greater acceptance of women. And as a woman, that's important to me, that the Hollywood Fringe does support women. So that's one of the other reasons that I felt like, you know what, I want to go to the Fringe. No one can stop us. We can do this.